Hey everybody, Ben here from the Bonehead podcast and welcome to Tournament Talk. We are looking at tournament lists for all the teams that have been spoiled in the Blood Bowl 2020 rulebook, just in case tournaments can return next year. We want you guys to have a look at some of the lists we've come up with that we think are going to be the most popular or the most interesting. Ready for, hopefully, the world to return back to normal and we'll get some tabletop on the go when Blood Bowl 2020 lands. So, if you've ever been to a Blood Bowl tournament before, you will know this, but if you haven't, generally speaking, most tournaments have different tournament rules. There's not really a standard build. So we looked at the tournaments, and 1100 used to be kind of like the smaller end. 1200 was kind of on the slightly larger end. We think it's going to be about 1150 as we move forward with the format, with the slight price increases and things. So what we've done is we put together some rosters for you that are at 1100 and 1200. So basically give you a bit of a middle ground so you can add a bit more to this one, take a bit off this one, and you can kind of tailor it to your tournament pack. And on tournament packs, skills tend to be different each time as well. So what we're doing is we're focusing on some of the most important skills for the builds and some other bits that we think might be useful for you to bear in mind. So if you end up with 4 normal skills, we want you to know that you really want to be taking these 2. But if your tournament ends up being 8, you can just go crazy. Anyway, let's have a look at our first Dwarf list. So we'll start off with an 1100 build for the Dwarves. It's standard, it's 1100. Dwarves do very well at low tier because they've got all the skills, all the armor, and they're actually an incredibly consistent team. With a few extra skills, they get real powerful. So this roster here has 12 players, 3 rerolls, 2 blitzers, 2 runners, 2 slayers, 6 blockers, and all the consistency of that reroll. And the reason this team is so consistent is because 10 out of the 12 players have block. And your skills that you want are block on most guys and sure hands on your ball carrier. You've got 2 ball carriers here who come with sure hands agility 3+. So your rerolls are only going to get dipped into when things go wrong. So 3 is plenty for dwarves. You've got a couple of frenzy boys here with slayers, so rerolls will be useful for that because they can end up getting themselves into bad situations, but that just ties in with the fact that your linemen come with block. So those skills that you get access to can all go on basically making your team just better. So guard on anybody is not bad. Block on your runners will complete the entire team having block, but because the team has block, guard is going to be really, really massive for you. So, and put it on the blitzers to get you some mobility. Then for your blitzers can support your slayers and make the most of their frenzy to give you twice as many punches. Mighty blow is not bad on slayers either because they're going to get twice as many opportunities to knock somebody down. There are just basically no bad skills you can give dwarves, okay? Guard is great. Mighty blow, if you want to go for casualties, I'd say maybe 1 mighty blow, maybe 1 tackle. A tackle slayer is not a bad thing either. Guard on your blitzers will be great, or tackle again to counter those dodge pieces. If you've got a spare skill around, kick can be really useful. It's not super required for dwarves in any way, shape or form, but if you're playing against another slow team, being able to drop that ball right at the back is going to give you extra turns to just mince their team, and that is going to help you scoring that all-important 2-1 grind. So straight away, 1100, these guys have got a great roster. So let's look at a bad one. There is a death roller on the dwarf team. It's 170k and it's secret weapon, and it's generally speaking a bad idea. And I know there's going to be those of you that want to take it to a tournament, and the cheapest at 1100 you can do this, guys. So 1 death roller, 2 blitzers, 1 runner, you still get 1 slayer for all the frenzy fun, and 7 blockers. You got 2 rerolls, so you really should be looking at leader here for the runner. We talked about dwarves being very consistent, but having that 3rd reroll will be really useful for your slayer. And as you've only got 1 runner, your blitzers are probably going to be going for the ball. And you want to have that extra reroll there to be able to actually pick it up and be okay with that. So that gives you your 3rd reroll. And the great thing about this list is once that death roller is gone. Now, the death roller is pretty cool. What is it? Strength 7, a billion skills. Like, it does a load of stuff. But it will get sent off because it's got secret weapon. The great thing about this roster is that once your strength 7, movement 4, break tackle, dirty player, +2, mighty blow, +1 juggernaut guy is gone, you've still got an 11-man dwarf team here with 2 blitzers, 1 runner, 1 slayer and 7 blockers. So you've still got stuff. You've still got dwarves you can do things with. You've still got skills. You can still do great stuff. Skills wise, it's up to you if you want to put one on the roller. I probably wouldn't, because it is only going to be there for a bit of a drive. But if you are planning on receiving, or just deploying it when you are receiving and just absolutely maximizing death with it, you could go worse than putting block or brawler on it. Actually, I don't think block is a double for this guy. Let me just double check. Death roller. Yeah, it is. Death roller can't. No, can get general. It's fine. Skills wise for the rest of the team, you don't need to change up much. You'll end up playing with a massive big guy for 4 or 5 turns on average. And then you're playing with a slightly worse off dwarf team where you've downgraded a runner and a slayer to a blocker. But quite frankly, you're only blitzing with 1 slayer per turn anyway, and you've only got 1 ball to pick up, so you can make this work. But if you're going to a bigger TV tournament, the 1200, you get everything. You get 1 roller, 2 blitzers, 2 runners, 2 slayers, 5 blockers and 3 rerolls. With all of these rosters, when you're kind of looking at the 3 reroll territory, you can drop 1, and with a bit of fandangling you can swing either another player or literally just swap a reroll for an apothecary if you want to keep your positionals on the pitch. What you could do at 1200 is take a bribe to try and keep your roller on. The last roster, not too bad at all, and that wouldn't be a terrible way of maximizing that death roller sort of value. You are doubling down on it at that point. This roster gives you a solid 11-player dwarf team once that roller is gone. So if you want to do the death roller thing, 1200 TV, you are going to get a death roller for a bit, and then just the best dwarf team you need. Okay, so forgive me, the graphics gone a bit squiffy. But if you want a star player in a dwarf team, you can do it at 1100. And the really exciting thing about dwarves now is because they've got the Old World Classic tag, as well as the World's Edge Super League, they can get access to so many star players. So what we've done here is put together how to fit in a mid-range star player into your roster at 1100. So Zug is 220, the Dwarf and Carla are 210, and I think Grim is 200. So we've basically built this roster with the flexibility to take any one of those stars. Now, they are all very good at what they do. So Grim is 200, he's strength 4, he's got multiple block, dauntless frenzy, so he's going to do some good work for you. Carla is strength 4, movement 6, agility 3+, and dodge as well, so she's a useful all-rounder. Grim's going to punch stuff, and then if you really want to punch stuff, you've got Zug, who for 220k is a strength 5 mighty blow block. Okay, so basically those guys take the position of the death roller, and you either get lots of block, a little block, or angry short block. But you could also squeeze the white dwarf in there as well, who will give your players extra skills each turn. Really interesting star player. I do recommend going and watching our star player spotlight for the white dwarf, because it's one of the first of that type we've seen, and it's really interesting. So 1100, you can get one of these 200-ish K star players in. 2 blitzers, 1 runner, 1 slayer, 7 blockers. But the cost at 1100 is you only get 1 reroll. So taking leader on your runner is super important. But you can do it with 2 rerolls with a dwarf team. Everybody's got block. If you position well, you maximize guard skills. The only risky thing you got there is the slayer, and by all means you can drop him off into another runner if that's what you want, if you're going for consistency. All of these guys up here come with integral rerolls or strength that gives you that. So Grim, Zug have got that strength, to be fair, so does Carla. Carla's also got dodge on a 3+, and the white dwarf is just going to make your team better. So you're giving up a reroll, you're giving up reroll 3 realistically, but you're getting a lot for it, and it's going to be a tough challenge to face Zug or Grim or Carla at 1100. But let's say you want to go for one of the best star players out there. The dwarves now have access to. They get the big daddy himself. They get Griff, okay, complete with Falcon Bird Medallion carrier. So Griff Oberwald, movement 7, strength 4, agility 2+, passing 3+, armor 9+, block, dodge, fend, loner 3+, sprint and sure feet, and once per game he just gets a super pro boost. Griff is insane, and at 1200 dwarves can run him really, really, really handily, and I'm a bit worried that this is what we might start seeing at tournaments. We might see people go, okay, yeah, I can take a death roller and a bunch of dwarves, or I can take Griff and a very good dwarf team. So 1200k, bang on. Griff Oberwald, 2 blitzers, 2 runners. You've got your sure hands there, you've got your mobile, you've got your agility 3+, so that's 4 agility 3+ guys. 2 of them have got sure hands, 2 of them have got block. Doing a great job there. 7 blockers who are movement 4, but they're also armor 75 and come with block, tackle, thick skull, and with a little cheeky boost here, you chuck guard on them and they start being an absolute mincer of a team. 2 rerolls for this team, which means you can sneak in a third one with leader to maximize your consistency. Up to you whether you want to do that. You could use the skills elsewhere, but Griff. You get Griff and 11 dwarves, and 4 of them are movement 5 or 6. This is great fun. We've got a dwarf team that's got different builds, and you've got Griff, who's going to be running around at movement 10 because he's got sprint and sure feet, just doing stuff. This is going to be a competitive team if people want to bring it. This versus one of the other stars, interesting, but Griff, you do get some serious stuff for that 280k. Wow, have we managed to fit in 280k in this roster? I think we really have. You get a load with dwarves. Like, you get a legitimate huge amount. Where are you, Griff? Where are you, Griff? Let me check the spreadsheet. 280k, yep. Google Sheets doesn't lie. Don't use Excel. The British government has demonstrated why you don't do that. So Griff at 1200 can be done, and so can Zug. So really, we're looking at this. We've looked at the last build. Zug is 220. The White Dwarf and Carla are 210, and Grim Ironjaw is 200. So there's a couple of others as well. You can take Helmet Wolf at 140 and the Sheep Dude at 170. But having a lack of having no hands, dwarves want hands. They already murder stuff. So the Zug under the hill build, 1190. You get Zug. You get 2 blitzers, 2 runners, 2 slayers, 5 blockers. So 11 dwarves. That's a load of armor 10+. 2 rerolls. Take the third one on this guy here, and you get a full dwarf team with any star player of 230k or less that you can take. So you can run Zug as just you can just free roll Zug as a big guy in a dwarf team. Very, very, very excited about that. And last but by no means least, we had to do it. We had to look and see if you can get Grak and Crumbleberry into a dwarf team. Karaz-A-Grak is what we're calling this roster. Again, coming in at 1190. 2 blitzers, 2 runners. You've got to lose a slayer to pay the extra 30k for Grak. It's a shame. You lose a slayer, but you're still running 6 blockers as well. 2 rerolls again. Chuck leader on for the 3rd reroll. What this roster gives you is 11 dwarves, 1 ogre, who does have Bonehead, so is slightly worse than Zug in that regard, but also comes with a tiny little person with sure hands and agility 3+ that you can kick. So you get a 1-turn touchdown dwarf roster, which is awesome. Plus a little foul if that's what you want to use him for. This bit here, right, does a great job of Blood Bowl. Having an ogre just on your team as well, and it comes with a guy that can pick up the ball. This is going to make this dwarf team dynamic. That's right, I said it. It's not Hackflem dynamic, but it is a fun, interesting twist, and that's why I'm so high on Grak and Crumbleberry. They are not optimal. Optimal is playing guard spam and grinding your opponent's soul into the pitch. But if you want to have a very reliable team, and also the excitement of throw teammate and having an ogre running around and stuff, like this absolutely sells Blood Bowl. Here's my dwarf team with my ogre and my halfling to throw. Winning at Blood Bowl. So one last thing I want to mention is that we saw the Griff build. Griff is 280k and he is exactly the same cost as Deeproot. So if you think your dwarf team needs more strength and more murder, you can take Deeproot instead of Griff. I just think Griff gives you stuff you don't have. Edge 2+. So you can do it, and the modelling opportunity is wicked. But I don't know. This one's my favourite, but that you all knew that going into it. Anyway, I am going to be done now talking about Dwarf Tournament rosters. I really love this, man. I think this is wicked. I think we're going to see some really cool builds come out of Dwarves, and now they've got access to more star players. It's going to be really interesting. Dwarves were good, but they struggled in tournaments to score a lot of touchdowns, which led to a lot of tournaments changing their scoring system to giving you bonus points for shutouts. More touchdowns is more fun, and I think the way that Blood Bowl's going, it encourages that. So Dwarves now being able to score a bunch means that if you sit down against a Dwarf coach, you may actually have to play some defense instead of just try and avoid being murdered. That's a different way to play, and I support it. I like it. Dwarves in 2020 at tournaments with star players for the win. Let me know in the comments below what you think of these rosters. Let me know who you want to be running with Dwarves, or are you just a staunch Death Roller fan? Anyway, guys, thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you again tomorrow for more tournament rosters.